You know, they're selling y'all wolf tickets, people. You're eating them right up.
Hey, pussy, are you still there?
I back. Trust me, I back.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
You'll do nothing. You'll do nothing. Shut your fucking mouth, you'll do nothing. You'll do fucking nothing. Not one of you will do nothing.
I'll tell you what, bro. You know, I was out there, I was fighting all the hitters, bro. You ain't fought no hitters.
Come on, guys. It's normal.
I'm not saying I would fight you. I would kill you.
John, do you think John, do you think I'm just gonna sit there and let you kill me, John? I mean, really?
No, don't be scared, homie.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champion once.
I'm gonna beat you into the living death. I mean, maybe that's your job, but where I come from, you know, people like that get slapped.
That's fucking illegal.
Nick Diaz, you just shook up the world. How's that feel?
Hey, I'm not surprised, motherfuckers.
Yeah, this is a simulated death match. And you haven't simulated anybody's death yet.
I said it last year. We're not here just to take part. We're here to take over.
What is the game plan going in against him?
The game plan is you go in there, hit him with some good shit, don't get hit, and come home with a pocket full of cash.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Everybody's on steroids. The whole UFC, everybody.
I'm gonna go home tonight. I'm gonna drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Do you want to be a fighter? That is my question.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke? Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
Yes. What is up? MCR family, another daily edition of the show, live on YouTube to discuss all things boxing, MMA, and everything in between. Hit the like bunch of the show, subscribe. I am Matt, the hipster hunter. Hipsters here, haters beware. Obviously, we're going to be talking about some of the Wilder Fury rumors and updates with the event. First, it has one of the best undercards in history, and will be in LA. Now it's going back to Vegas with maybe Jared Hurd attached. God knows what's happening there. Unfortunately, Kathy Duva sort of spilling the tea a little bit when it comes to DAZN, ESPN, and Fox, and the, quote, proxy war that's happening between them. Can't wait to discuss that topic. Don White versus Dexter Zorris seemingly almost all but set in stone. And obviously over in the MMA world, Valentina Shevchenko versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk for the vacant UFC women's flyweight belt. Yes. I know Anthony Walker from Sherdog, a loyal friend of the show and sometimes contributor, will probably be, palm to the head, upset about, this fight. But it's the best fight to make in this division to make, a champion here. And I cannot wait to discuss that one. Of course, you can call in and partake in the show, debate with me, and get your points across on these topics or any topic we discuss or not discuss today. 323-870-4051. Numbers right there at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Or if you're international, email me, mixedcombatradio@gmail.com. I get your free international call-in link that is permanent, where you can always go back and press that link. You can call into the show absolutely free. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Eric Cruz, Johnny, Aaron Munoz, Stewie, motherfucker Griffin, Bayside Vegas Mark, Main Event Mark, two different marks there, and Bayside Boxing. I think I already said Bayside. Anyways, salute to you guys. Hope everyone is having a great day. To everyone listening on playback on podcasts, leave that review on iTunes, because 99% of our listeners on podcasts listen via the iTunes podcast feed. So leave a review. Best way to spread exposure for the show and get new listeners. If you're listening on YouTube, our loyal YouTube audience, hit the like button, share the show, subscribe, all those simple things. Of course, you want to help out financially, patreon.com/mixedcombatradio. What other things, sort of housekeeping stuff to get out of the way before we start with the show? I am in desperate need of a IG master, somebody that knows IG in and out, that can work it. So email me. Again, email right there. Right there, bottom left-hand corner. That'd be awesome. If you want to work Twitter as well, or any of our social media accounts, Facebook, whatever it is, please be in contact with me. Or if you want to, do interviews for our platform, you go interview fighters, you want to write for us, you want to be on the show, you want to produce the show, you want to go to events, whatever you want to do, if you want to be a part of this industry, this is a path for you. This is an option for you, so please hit me up. Always available. one last housekeeping news before we get to the show for all of our podcast listeners, because it probably pertains more to them than all of our YouTube listeners. The show will be staggered. So what that means is obviously we are live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in the UK, unless there's something happening, every week, no matter what. However, the podcast will not be released till the following day on that time. So case in point, going forward, let's say I start a show right now. The previous show from yesterday will be uploaded via podcast right now when I go live on the new show. It's only to really sort of push YouTube subscriber rate. I want that rate to go higher. We're smashing on podcast. We really need the YouTube subscriber rate to rise in order to hit certain things, certain monetization goals, so I can really start either paying myself or other people for work. So definitely please do that. If you are listening to podcasts and like, damn it, I have to listen to the show a day later, or you can listen on YouTube and go subscribe on YouTube. Always preferable. And plus, this show is geared in so many ways towards the YouTube audience. Me showing articles, clips, whatever it may be. It leads to a more visual experience, I would say, than most boxing podcasts. So again, even though we do have a lot of listeners via podcast, you can always come back on YouTube. It's live. It's, I would say, probably a better platform to watch the show as well. Of course, I know a lot of you listen to it on, via your commute and stuff, where it's just probably safe. It's better for your battery, for your phone, whatever it is. Does on podcast, understandable. But again, show will be staggered going forward. So next week, when we do a Monday show, that podcast will not be released till Tuesday at the same exact time. So yes, just to let you guys know, let's get to the show. Because as customary for MCR, we do have breaking news before the show. We have, more rumors, and I really want to just address the Wilder Fury rumors, updates, because it's all over the place. It was either yesterday or the day before. Lance Pugmire came out, talked about, per a source, a dream undercard, and also that it would be most likely in Staples Center, or at least that's the front runner for the fight. Now that's all changing. And quickly, just to keep it a little bit more chronological, Gervonta Davis went on Twitter yesterday, I believe. Yesterday. And said, so December 1st, I'm fighting, with a little eye emoji. It's lit. So obviously that kind of showed that Gervonta Davis, it was news to him. He was fighting on this card, which did not lead to any confidence in this news. Or rumor, I should say, because it's not really news. It's a rumor. Then Mike Coppinger comes out today and says, sources, not even a remote chance Leo Santa Cruz versus Gary Russell Jr. takes place on Wilder Fury undercard. Contrary to a report elsewhere, fight is way too expensive. More than likely, Tank Davis isn't on card either. Good possibility Jared Hurd returns on that show, though. God, this is just sad. Obviously, Jared Hurd's a fantastic champion. It's going to be good to see him on the card, too, depending on how he's matched. But that Leo Santa Cruz Gary Russell fight is such a good fight for the division and just a good fight for the sport overall. That, in my mind, I think for a lot of people's minds, that is the clear king at 126. Is the winner of that fight. And obviously, if they want to make it a main event on whether Showtime, Fox, whatever it may be, I don't care. But that fight needs to be done. If it's not done this year, first quarter next year has to be done. It's unfortunate that we won't get it on a Wilder Fury undercard. Also, Tank Davis versus Abner Mars, a fight that we all probably aren't too hyped on, let's be honest. But when it was paired with this, this card, I think it got a little bit a better just due than what we first perceived it as. Mainly because, the cheerleader effect. Everything around it was really good. So then Tank Mars, because we know them, it seemed much better. Now that is both off the card. And also per Mike Coppinger as well. Another venue in the mix for Wilder Fury, assuming it goes on December 1st. Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. That seems to be seems to make more sense than LA for a big heavyweight title fight. As much as I love a home game, # Wilder Fury, per Mike Coppinger on Twitter. Look, I have no idea what's happening. And then we have Tyson Fury coming out on IG, and I'm getting it by way of Edit King Boxing just because Twitter allows me to control volume and stuff. Instagram doesn't. That's trash, Instagram. You need to fix that. Just saying. But let's get to it. Good old Tyson Fury.
Shit just got serious. I just signed my end of the deal of the contract with the Wilder fight. Signed, sealed, delivered. Just up to them now. You know shit got serious because I just got out the Emmanuel Stewart Cronk boot. The original OG boot. There you go. I'm breaking these bad boys back out of retirement for the Wilder fight. Deontay Wilder, you're going to get it, mate. You're in big trouble. No, I've never met a man I couldn't beat. In a boxing ring or outside on the street, in general. Every man I've ever conquested, I've conquered. And you ain't going to be no different, my pal. I know you've got a big punch. I know you're unbeaten. I know you've got a big mouth. And I know you want to win. But you don't want it like I do. You can't beat me. I will out-heart you. I will force my will upon you until you quit. And that's a promise. That chin is going nowhere. That chin will absorb all your power, and I'll detonate. Good night.
Well, shout out to good old Tyson Fury. So in my mind, this fight's still happening December 1st, because I think it is happening. Wilder Fury is not 100% happening, but all signs point to this fight happening in December, on December 1st. I think Vegas makes a lot more sense for this fight, so if they move it to Mandalay Bay, it makes more sense. Vegas Mark saying that Staples Center only has December 1st open. It's not happening in LA. I just don't think it will. I think they probably use that as some sort of negotiation leverage for MGM, because MGM, I believe, owns Mandalay Bay in order to get a bigger site fee. That's what I'm assuming happened. Again, pure assumption, pure speculation, but that's sort of where my head goes. Staples Center, they're going to make enough money off of everything else they have. And Mandalay Bay, they sort of need this big fight, so they're probably going to pay bigger for a site fee, let's be completely honest. And depending how Jarrett Hurd is matched up, obviously Jarrett Hurd's an all-action fighter, so he's going to lead to an exciting matchup regardless on that card. Keith Thurman still in the running potentially to be on the undercard, though God knows what's happening with Keith Thurman, let's be honest. We can't trust in that brand and that stock right now in order to make that date unless we hear a confirmed press release with an opponent, a poster, everything. I want to see everything in terms of that fight before I believe we see Keith Thurman back. Just unfortunate, but everyone was right. Like the financials of the situation just made it very difficult to get that undercard together. You have to get Gervonta Davis paid well. You have to get, obviously, Leon Gary Russell paid well because of unification. And on top of that, obviously, the $20 million maybe alleged each purse for Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. I think that was per the Daily Mail in the UK. I understand why it just financially didn't make sense and why that was a quote-unquote dream. Johnny saying it only happened in Cali if that Santa Cruz fight was legit because he can draw that Mexican crowd. Good point, Johnny. The fact that LA was announced plus the rumor of Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell might be a correlation there, whether it be indirect or direct. There seems to be a correlation there. Definitely agree with that. Good point there, Johnny. Again, call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Or email me, mixcombatradio@gmail.com if you want to call in internationally. Not much to discuss with this sort of news and updates. Just wanted to briefly, address it, correct some of the rumors that have been out there. Not correct them, but just add to them. God knows when we get this official press release. Hopefully it's recent, or not recent. Hopefully it's soon. With AJ Povetkin tomorrow, it makes a lot of sense to announce this fight within the next 48 to 72 hours. If by Monday night we don't get an announcement, I'm not saying it's a concerning factor, but I feel like they just missed a promotional boat, in my opinion. Big Al saying just got here, so they lean towards Vegas or LA. Vegas, Mandalay Bay, and Abner Mars, Gervonta Davis fight off the card, as well as the Leo Santa Cruz, Gary Russell fight is off the card. Jarrett Hurd is now being attached to the undercard, and still Keith Thurman is in the running, depending on how he feels. Whether he's playing the flute or not that day, God knows. But moving over to some interesting news. Definitely one that I've been talking about for a while. This is going to sound like a broken record again from me, but hey, when you have a daily show, it happens. Just saying.
Any of you radio personalities think you want smoke?
Just saying.
Call me Mr. Chimney. I want smoke.
So Kathy Duva was interviewed by Steve Kim over at UCN Live, and I'm not going to get into my Steve Ken rabbit hole. He is what he is. But this is interesting because Kathy Duva basically goes on to explain or at least put words to what we're all thinking about when it comes to the network battle and war, and in her words, proxy war that we're seeing between DAZN, Fox, ESPN, and Showtime there as well, HBO there as well. And this new network war we are seeing and how it's going to play out. Who's against who? So let's read some quotes because, again, I love me a good dramatic reading, as always. Shout out to Anthony Walker. Only reason I keep playing this music because I know he laughs at it. Kathy Duva per Steve Kim at UCN Live saying, in the end, I think there's a great deal of competition going on between ESPN and the upstart DAZN. I think anybody who is a leading fighter right now is going to benefit from that, and that's what's happened here. Obviously talking about Kovalev and Eloy Alvarez in their rematch having a sort of bidding war from DAZN and ESPN, and that's basically what she's alluding to or talking about here. Where should we go next? There's so much good shit here. Let's go down here. This is the good stuff. Oh, no, hold on. I missed one. I'm sorry. Where are we at? Okay, here we go. As for why ESPN landed this fight instead of DAZN, Duva explained it wasn't just about the money, per Steve Kim's exact words. Duva says, there were a lot of things taken into consideration, and there's a comfort level. We've dealt with top ranks since the beginning of our business. Clearly, Igis Klimos, Kovalev's manager, has a comfort level with top rank because he has so many fighters with them. The money, there came a point once we came to terms when DAZN started calling us and trying to give us more money. In the end, look, ESPN is going to make a 7-year commitment to boxing, and this is a company that's in the United States and I know is going to be here. And let's just stop that right there. Let's stop before we read any more into it and any more quotes from her, because that to me is telling. And the critics of DAZN, myself could be included in that mix, depending who you ask, have been saying this, that it's going to be hard for DAZN to compete with a resurgent ESPN investment into boxing, because ESPN just has the hold on the sporting world in the U.S. Like when I'm late at night in bed and I just want like some mindless TV, I turn on ESPN. I know like it's going to have highlights of sports, of stuff I don't really know, but hey, it's just sports and I'm a sports guy. I know that that's the network to go to. So when it's college football and I don't watch a single college football game, whether it's NFL and I don't watch a single NFL game, I'm going to see highlights of it and I'm okay with that because I know that's the network I can go to. And with DAZN now trying to compete with all of that, not just boxing. Remember, this is more than just boxing here. Boxing may be the proxy war with these networks, but DAZN's trying to make a dent in the sporting world in the U.S., and ESPN and Fox are going to compete with that. They're going to push back on that. And not only that, they have the brand foothold in the market. They do. DAZN is an unknown entity with an odd name competing with networks that have been around for decades. And for Fox's standpoint, been around since what, the 60s? Fox has been around for a bit. It's just unlikely. And then let's get back to the dramatic reading. Per Kathy Duva, there is absolutely a proxy war going. She stated, talking about ESPN and Fox, which is now aligned with Premier Box Champions. And they're trying to crush DAZN because this is an upstart that's coming into the country and going to be competing with them for rights to every sport. And I don't see where the networks are going to afford another player coming in to take a piece of their pie. So they are fighting right now on this ground, boxing, in between Fox and ESPN. They're going to buy up everything they can so DAZN won't get in. Let's stop right there again. Because the fact that she is stating this, I think, is enlightening. Because, again, we've all been talking about this. We've all been talking about how these networks are now battling, ESPN / Top Rank and DAZN and Eddie showing up to purse bids that none of the fighters are aligned with, or they aren't aligned with any of the fighters involved, I should say. Like, we've seen it. It hasn't been stated that it's been this, bidding war for every sort of content there is out there for boxing. But now it's being stated by a promoter that was involved with it directly. Let's not forget that Eddie Hearn allegedly had he called his dad, Barry Hearn, to contact Kathy Duva to try to get this fight. Regardless of them offering more money, they went with ESPN. And I know Rob may not be listening, may be busy. Hopefully he can call in. But he's talked about the budget of Eddie and DAZN and how the amount of money they have makes them a player. And somewhat that's true. That's partially right. Because their money, obviously players like Fox and ESPN, these big, huge entities in the U.S. TV landscape, are having to address them, having to go toe-to-toe with them. Obviously shows they are a competitor. However, how much of a competitor are they? I think it was Mookie Alexander over at Bloody Elbow was talking on Twitter about this, about DAZN has, no offense, but the subpar products, whether it be MMA or boxing. Now, us hardcores may disagree with that. I love World Boxing Super Series. I love what Bellator is trying to do in the next 6 months. It looks really interesting to me. And I always love UK fights. I just love the atmosphere. So I'm hyped for it, obviously. Getting all the access to UK matchroom cards and just having more fight cards overall. But it's still the subpar product compared to what Fox and Showtime are bringing and ESPN. They have the subpar roster. They have the subpar promotions. I shouldn't say subpar. The B League. It is. Especially for like Bellator, Combat Americas, these MMA promotions that they've lined up, they don't compete really with the UFC. They don't. Their highest ratings is 500,000 on the Paramount Network, competing with a multi-billion-dollar sporting entity like the UFC. It's just not a comparison. It isn't. And even though I may value what the World Boxing Super Series along with Matchroom brings, Top Rank is promising to deliver more. And on top of that, look at what Fox and Showtime have. Look at the roster they have. And obviously, Eddie came in here with DAZN, Matchroom USA, with the idea, with the game plan of poaching PBC talent. That was clear as day. And the exact opposite has really happened. Yeah, he's poached maybe a couple guys here and there, like the Delormes, the Jesse Vargas. But again, the B League. Like this isn't the top tier talent he has there, or that DAZN has. Let's be honest. How can they compete with subpar talent, subpar roster compared to their competitors for a higher market cost, twice the amount of than ESPN Plus? It's a lot to ask for the fan base that I just don't know what we're going to see here. And I've predicted that if DAZN doesn't work out, there is that 2-year out we heard about. Where in 2 years, there's an out for Eddie or DAZN or both of them. I do not know the specifics of it, but that was always the talked about rumor that in 2 years, there's an out in the contract. So in 2 years' time, do we see Eddie jump from this to go to ESPN, go to Fox, Showtime? I don't know. HBO? Doubt it. Kathy Duva talks about HBO looking at all these networks that are bigger than them when it comes to sports. Now, putting a lot of dollar value into the sport. They're not going to compete with it. She even says that. And she has a fight in December or November with Dimitri Bivol that she has to promote on HBO. It is what it is, in my opinion. And I think DAZN had a very narrow window to make a huge dent in the industry and really put their foothold in the market, and they didn't. They stumbled. And I might be premature in that prediction, but it is a talk radio show that MCR. So I'm gonna make that prediction. I think DAZN missed the boat. I think they did. I think we're obviously going to see some good events from them and good fights. World Boxing Super Series involved and all that stuff. But it's not going to have the desired effect that Eddie Hearn has been promising, that DAZN has been promising. It's not going to do that. DAZN is not the iteration. Now, however, what they may do is push the industry to a more streaming direction, whether that be ESPN, whether that be Showtime. And I think they already have done that. There's already been that very quick effect by DAZN, in my opinion, where there is more of an emphasis on streaming, more so than linear TV. I think that would be probably the biggest legacy of DAZN. When we talk about it from 20, 30 years from now, it won't be, it's this huge app and network on for streaming for sports. It won't be that. It would be this little tiny footnote where we talk about how they push Showtime, Fox, and ESPN to a streaming platform more so than anything else. And boxing was used as a proxy war to get that done. So I think that's probably going to be what we talk about heading forward in the next few years, more so than DAZN being this huge competitor with these mega conglomerates in the U.S. Like DAZN, even though they have a lot of money on their backing as well, they don't have as much as ESPN. They don't. They don't have as much as Fox. They just don't. Not in a total, maybe per boxing, maybe, but not as a total, budget. Let's just be completely honest here. They are not comparable. Last boxing news of the day before we head into MMA. Call in 323-870-4051. Press 1 to get in the queue. Dylan White, Derek Chisora. I'm not going to play the interview because it's IFLs, but go check it out. They were at was it the weigh-in? I think it was the weigh-in. It might have been the media workout. I forget exactly, for Anthony Joshua Povetkin. And Chisora not really ran up on Dylan White, but kind of did and said, let's make the fight. Like, what do you want? Do you want to split? Do you want straight up? Dylan White said, you're going to get 25%. I'm going to get 75%. I'm the A side. Which I got to say, that's such a boss thing to say. Like, to your face, like, I'm the A side. You're getting 25%. I love that shit. Shout out to Dylan White. Chisora saying, I'll pay you $5 million. It is what it is. Eddie Hearn went on an interview later with IFL and said, that's not going to happen that way. They're about 15% off in terms of negotiation. So in theory, that would mean Chisora wants 40% instead of 25%, which I don't really blame him. I understand. But I think I'm not really going to get into like who should get more. Like, it's a fun fight. Like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I think there's better fights for both guys, to be completely honest, in this rematch. But it's still a fun, all-action heavyweight fight to sort of close out the year. December 27th, I believe, is the alleged date they're talking about. In my opinion, Dylan White versus Jared Miller is probably the fight to make a clear number one contender to any champion at heavyweight. That's probably the fight to make, in my opinion, for Dylan White. For Chisora, I don't know, but it is what it is. Again, all-action fight. Chisora definitely impressed against Carlos Takam. Fight of the year contender, comeback of the year contender. So shout out to Derek Chisora, man. Living his best life, man. You gotta love him. Moving on to MMA news of the day. Man, let's just soak up this moment that this fight is announced. And I know Anthony's very upset. But Anthony, sorry. Valentina Shevchenko versus Joanna Jedrzejczyk for the vacant UFC flyweight title added UFC 231. Yes. Get hyped. Pretty much everything I said about it when it was first sort of talked about is true. Like, I think this is a fight to sort of jumpstart the division, get some eyeballs on it. No disrespect towards Nico Montano, but nobody really cared about her as a champion, unfortunately. And with the UFC stripping her, we're already past that point. We jumped the shark for the division. So now we have to sort of really Frankenstein monster this flyweight division. And in order to do that, put Joanna Jedrzejczyk there. A person that's been in the spotlight for a while, that has a drawing power, that is arguably probably a top 5 female draw of all time in MMA. There's probably people that might disagree with that, but she has that claim. She's been around for a bit. She's the longest reigning, I believe, UFC Women's Champion, though Ronda might have that. Ooh, they might be tied. I forget. Anyways, digressing. This is the fight to make. Both women fought numerous times in Muay Thai. Shevchenko won, I think, twice out of 2 times. But again, this is MMA. It's a new division. Jedrzejczyk coming off 2 losses to Rose Namajunas. What do we think about her? Shevchenko seemingly what the UFC wants to be for their UFC flyweight champion. Jedrzejczyk might be just that name to get Shevchenko over, to get her that sort of reputation and respect from the casual fan base. But also, it's just going to be a fun fight. Like, let's not forget that. Valentina Shevchenko, even though she's a defensive-minded fighter, Joanna Jedrzejczyk is not. And I think because of that, stylistically, they're going to mesh very well together. If you go back and watch some of the Muay Thai fights, it's fun action. Like, it's fun Muay Thai between the two. They mesh very well together, and then add some takedowns, some grappling aspect to it, which I think Shevchenko should have a slight edge in that factor. I'm hyped. I'm in. I'm sold. Give me this fight. And also, to sort of piggyback off of what I've been seeing via the UFC social media accounts, this fight being added to 231. Interesting. Another title fight that's not going to be at UFC 230 at Madison Square Garden, a pay-per-view that has 0 title shots. One that I've been talking about for a while is going to be most likely Jon Jones against somebody for an interim title at UFC 230 because he is basically a hometown fighter there, and they need someone to draw in Madison Square Garden because they've only had big cards there. Plus, now the UFC's sort of secondary accounts, like their UFC Canada account, the UFC Europe account, whatever it is, they're now posting, plus it just happens to be this day, on this day, Jon Jones versus Alexander Gustafsson, UFC 165, fight of the year, best UFC light heavyweight fight of all time, blah, blah, blah. All these highlight reels of the fight. I'm just saying, like, am I the only one seeing it here? Now we have more and more fights not being talked about with UFC 230, especially title fights. There's only so little that you have left to sort of pull out of the hat. It's either Tyron Woodley versus Colby Covington, which I don't think is the fight to make for that event, just being honest. Or at least put that one on there. And on top of that, Jon Jones. Or as a co-main event, put Jon Jones. I don't care. But Jon Jones, I think, is absolutely crucial to that event being successful. And unfortunately, whatever we may think about USADA and them giving him a light suspension, we know the business of the sport. He's going to be on that card. The UFC now scheduling more title fights to other cards on top of now basically sharing Jon Jones highlight reels nonstop in the past 24 hours. It's all but set in stone, in my opinion, that we're getting an announcement imminent about Jon Jones in that event. Just my brief opinion about that. And last news of the day before we head out of here, because we do have no callers, Renan Barão has missed a weight for tomorrow's event at UFC Sao Paulo by more than 5 pounds. God. So sad, man. The fall of Renan Barão is one of the most depressing things to see, and one of the sharpest falls, not necessarily from grace, but just falls in ability, falls in skills. This guy was a pound-for-pound talent that was doing quite well in the bantamweight division in Dominic Cruz's absence. And he loses twice to TJ Dillashaw, has never been the same. Never. It's rather unfortunate to see a guy like that drop so low in ability and talent. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it. It's a quick one today. Quick Friday show. We're going to be back obviously tomorrow for a live fight chat and immediate reaction for AJ Povetkin, UFC Sao Paulo, and everything else happening in the combat sports world. Tomorrow we will be doing a show. So do not forget, I am Matt, the Hipster Hunter. Hit the like button on the way out. Share the show. Subscribe. Listen on the podcast forum. Definitely leave a review. And have a great day. Peace.